This video is sponsored by Shortboxed, the easiest and safest way to buy and sell graded comic books. Visit them today using the link in the description. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we are going to take a look at a couple of books that I need. I absolutely need these books in my collection to, in some ways, round out my collection. And this is not a want list. I haven't done a want list since 2018. This is not that. This is more about me trying to manifest some stuff into real life. I'm going to go ahead and claim it, and then I'm going to work my tail off to actually make it real. And so there's a couple of really cool books that have been just beyond my grasp. In some ways, I've had these books in my hands and I've chosen not to pick them up because I felt like the time wasn't right. But that could change. That could change in the near future. So I want to show you guys these books, and hopefully not too far away, I'll be doing an unboxing and actually showing these books. Fingers crossed. All right, the very first book that we're going to look at is this one right here. This is Batman 181, and this is the first appearance of Poison Ivy. This is honestly just a really fantastic cover. There is something striking about the checkerboard across the upper portion, the Batman logo, the red background, and the Poison Ivy position right in the middle. There is something about this cover that just speaks to me. It is a book that I've wanted for a very long time, and I've actually held this book in my hands. I was close to buying it once. The price was pretty good. The challenge was that it was a raw book with a detached centerfold. And even though the centerfold was certainly not married to the book, it was still less desirable to me because it wasn't a fully intact book. So I had to pass on it. I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all, but I do still, again, want this book in the collection, but I want it in the right condition. Maybe not the right grade, right? Because it could be a raw book, but I do want it in a good condition that will fit with the collection. So, when you look at this, basically there's roughly 3,000 total graded copies on the census, technically 2,900 to be a little bit more precise. The 9.8, there are 3 of those. Sweet Christmas, that's a lot. All right, let me scroll down to a normal amount here. I would not mind being somewhere, if I did do a graded book, somewhere around the 6.0 range, $1,400 at the FMV. I would not feel bad about that, especially if it had white pages, right? You can see that the 30-day average for this one is about $1,450, which is not exactly terrible. Let me click on this and see what the trend looks like. And it's trending down, no doubt about it. In September of 21, this book was going for roughly $2,000. And in August of 2022, the most recent sale was $1,450. So not terrible, definitely trending downward. There was a book, when was that? Back in March, went for $1,900, a best offer around $21. Who knows what the final price of that was? $15, another best offer that was made, and then $1,450. So again, not a terrible price to pay for a 6.0. The big question will be, of course, can you find someone that has a 6.0 with white pages that they're willing to part with for a fair price, close to FMV versus being above FMV? So we'll have to see about that. But again, just a really, really fantastic book that I would love to add to the collection. And more than likely I will in some form or fashion. So let's go ahead and take a look at the second book. And this is a book that probably will not surprise a lot of people because I've spoken about this book a lot in the past. It is Uncanny XMen issue number 266. And depending upon what you believe, this is, the first appearance of Gambit, second appearance of Gambit. Without a doubt, it is the first cover appearance of Gambit. But there's a lot of uncertainty about this book. And the other book that is in dispute, which is XMen Annual 14, I do believe. I have a couple of copies of that, including a 9.8. What I don't have is a 9.8 of this book, Uncanny XMen 266. I have a 9.6, but not a 9.8. And I have a desire to have, again, this book in my collection. You can see that there's a healthy number of them out there on the census, 3,200 copies. FMV right now is 875. The 90-day average is 952. This book, once upon a time, was really pricey, and you can see that here playing out. May of 21, this book was going for $1,200, which is just a crazy amount of money. I had a little bit of a dip, and then it bounced back up a little bit to about 1,080. Had another little fall off down to about 840. And it is now on the rebound a little bit here as of late. Last sale was just a few days ago, sitting at about 958 based upon the data that I'm seeing here. I've seen this book on Instagram because I've spoken about it so many times. I have people that tag me on the exact same post on Instagram. It is a CBCS book. It is a 9.8. The price is not bad at all. It's actually a reasonable price. And like I said, this is just one of those books that for some reason or another, I just have not been able to pull the trigger on. But I will make that magic happen. And I'm definitely committed to adding Uncanny X-Men 266 9.8 to the collection, but definitely a really cool book that I would welcome in the collection. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next book on the list. And this one, I don't know if this one will surprise people. I don't know. We'll see. This is Batman issue number 171. This book is from 1965, and it is the first Silver Age appearance of the Riddler. This is not the greatest cover. I will tell you that. It is not the greatest cover. It looks a lot better, honestly, in person because of the pink cover. I, again, have had this book in my hand at least 4 times that I can recall. And each one of those times, the overall condition of the book was not quite where I wanted it to be. The price was not terrible, but the condition of the book, just lots of color breaking ticks down the spine, lots of folds in the copies that I was seeing. It was not necessarily, it was not a great presentation each time I was able to have this book in front of me. And it is a book, again, that I would love to add to the collection. There are only, wow, I didn't realize the census count was this low, 1,300 copies. I did not realize the census was that low on this specific book. But as I scroll down the list here, you can see that the price isn't terrible. I don't know if I'll be as high as an 8.0, but an 8.0 has an FMV of around $1,800. You can see that the 30-day average is sitting at about the same thing. You know, if you were to drop down to a 6.0, which is not terrible, you're looking at about $1,000 for both FMV and the 30-day, which again isn't terrible. Most of the books that I've seen in person were probably closer to the 3.0 3.5 range, which I think is a little too low for me with this specific book. I love the price. Don't get me wrong. I love the price, especially the 30-day average on the 3.5 sitting at about 570. But the way that the book presents, it's not quite where I want it to be. So I have a feeling I'll probably be somewhere up here in the 6.5, 6.0. But again, with such a low census count, beggars may not be choosers when it comes to this book. So we will see what happens with this one. But I have an affinity for Batman. I don't read as much Batman probably as I should, but it is a character that I do enjoy. I enjoy the history associated with Batman and what the character represents. I've been on the slide picking up Batman books strategically, and as I've shown in this video, there's still a couple more out there that I would love to add to the collection. So the very last book that I'm going to show you, I think, is a really cool book. It is a cool book, but it is expensive. It is expensive in so many ways, and I don't know if the price is coming down just yet, but because of the Wanda Vision show, this book has been just incredibly hot. And we are, of course, talking about X-Men number 4, the first appearance of Quicksilver, and also of the Scarlet Witch and a bunch of other people, Toad and Mastermind, and the first appearance of the Evil Mutants. I want it because it is a low number X-Men book. I love the X-Men, and I would love to put together like 1 through 10-ish of X-Men. And I have a couple of the lower numbers already, but I do not have 4. I've purposefully not picked this book up because I felt like it was not artificially inflated, but definitely inflated in terms of the price beyond what I was prepared to pay. But great book from 1964. So as I scroll down the list here, you can see that this book is definitely a pricey book. If you just contrast it to the one we just looked at in the 6.5 to 6.0, just a big difference here in some of the pricing. So we'll have to see where I fall with this one. Maybe a 5.0. It's not terrible. It's only 200 copies of this at a 5.0. Look at that. The FMV is 2,400, but the 30-day average is 2,600 for a 4.5. What is that? A $1,900 FMV, and the 30-day average is above that at 1,975, which is not terrible. Let's click on the 4.5. Let's see what the 4.5 looks like. Price on this book has definitely come down versus where it was at 1974 in August. In May, it was at, oh my sweet Christmas. Wow. In May, it was $3,200. Go back in April of 21, it was $4,000. Again, this is why I have not picked this book up. So it has come down from its heights, but definitely not as cheap as it was back in, back in July of 2020. This book was $840 at a 4.5. If only you could go back in time. That's crazy. But again, just a really awesome book that I would love to add to the collection. And so by and large, the books that I showed you in this video are relatively attainable, right? These are not books that cost tens of thousands of dollars, but these are, I think, affordable, depending upon the grade, books that I can get my hands on, and more importantly, will enhance the overall collection. I've spent a considerable amount of time over the last few years building up my Marvel collection, specifically Silver Age, and so I've been strategically trying to pick up some Silver Age DC books as well, because I believe that those books are affordable, and they're also books that I have an interest in, and that's part of the reason why you saw 2 Batman books in this specific video. So fingers crossed again that I'll be able to make some magic happen, and that there will be an unboxing down the road of 1 or more of these books. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, I certainly want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment behind. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.